go ahead and create a new composition, right? And create a new solid. Now I'm going to make this gold. You can choose any color you want. Click OK. If you want to mask any layer, there are two tools that you can choose from. You have the pen tool, but also you do have the masking shapes. If you take the pen tool, this allows you to actually put points on where you are going to be cutting around. Now, as you can see, as I was starting to mask around, this shape layer appeared, right? And that's a bit confusing. I was confused once in my life, and that's when I discovered that you need to actually select this layer. Always remember to select the layer, because if you don't select the layer and start drawing around, you'll actually get a shape layer. I will explain shape layers after I finish explaining about the masking. Select your layer, and now if you click, you can see we only get the shape path here and not the new layer. If you open up down here, we now have the mask option on top of the transform. On the mask one here, you have the option to invert. So if I invert, you can see I did cut out the outside part, but now I have cut out the inside part. Now I'm going to put it back, and this is known as add, okay, which is this selected right here. If I click on subtract, it will actually subtract what I've cut into and show the outside. Let me say I create a different mask, and I'm not just going to create a different mask like I did this before. I'm going to be clicking and holding, and you can see if I click and hold, I get Bezier handles here. I can play around to create a circle. So if I click and hold here, you can see I can create a Bezier angle. If I click here and hold, I can create a Bezier angle, get some kind of circle, and then I can go around and click on this and do some minor adjustments here. Now if you come to masks, you can see we have mask 1, but also we have mask 2, and right now you can see this shape is similar to this shape. They have intersected. Now what you can do now, you can actually change the settings of this mask. So if I click on add here and select subtract, you can see now this mask layer is subtracted, but if I select intersect, you can see now they are both subtracted, but they only show at an area where they intersect. So this is the area where they intersect right here, and that's what is showing. Now if I change this intersect into lighten, you can see now we can see all of them, and if I choose difference here, you can see only our outside masks show, but where they intersect is actually subtracted. So play around with these settings, and then you'll get actually what you want. Now let me delete these masks, do a quick mask here, open up this mask. You can see we have other settings below this mask. Mask path is this that the masks follow, okay? You can actually change this. You can actually change and animate this, and this is going to be easy once we go into keyframing, which is on the next episode. You can actually change, you can make it wiggle around, you can change its shape, make it square as you go along, and other cool stuff like that. On the mask feather is how hard you want your edges to be. So right now they are 0, which means they are absolutely hard, okay? But if I increase the feather, you can see the edges are now softening. They are much softer. The amount depends on what you're actually looking for. The mask opacity is how much you want your mask to be visible, your mask shape to be visible, and mask expansion is increase the size of your mask. It's actually expanding and shrinking, okay? Negative shrinks, positive expands. The settings that I showed you right here work the same as if we use the shape masks right here. Now you see these are actually shape masks. Now we have the rectangle tool here. If I take the rectangle tool, I get this. My cursor changed into this. Now if I click on the anchor point here, hold control on my keyboard, if I drag, I will actually get equal size scaling here on my artwork here. If I click on the anchor point here and hold shift on my keyboard, I will actually get a perfect square, a perfect shape. And this works for all the shapes, not just the rectangle tool. But if I click freely, you can see here, and this works the same on all of these shapes. You have the ellipse tool here. If I click shift, you can see it's a perfect circle. If I leave shift, you can see now it is not so perfect, right? And it scales on the sideways, it masks on the sideways. But if I click control and hold, it will actually cut from here. If I click control and shift and hold all of them, I can actually mask a perfect circle and mask it from the center of the composition. Now, for example, let me take the polygon tool here, click in the middle, click and hold control and shift, and then scale it up. You can see now we have the polygon shaped. If you open the mask options here, you can see we have the same mask options. We have the expansion, we have the opacity, we have the feather, but also we have the shape. Now on the polygon here, if you click on the shape, you can see you also have here the top, right, left, and bottom. And you can change what measurements you want. You can change it to pixels, you can change it to inches, millimeters, and even percent source. Okay, but also you can change the shape here. You can leave it to rectangle, you can change it to ellipse. Okay, you see, those are the extra options that you get here on the mask path. Let's say that I don't want to mask out shapes from solids. I want to create new shapes out of thin air. Okay, not thin air, it's actually After Effects. First of all, I'm going to delete this solid. And by the way, once you create a solid, a folder will be created and you can actually find your solid. So even if you delete it on the timeline, you can actually still find it on the folder here. You select your shape, okay, your polygon shape here in the center, click and hold Ctrl+Shift+C, and I'm going to mask out. You can see now a shape layer has been created, and this has been named to shape 1. Of course, you can right click and rename your layer, okay, to anything you want. Okay, yes, I'm going to rename it to yes. And now on top here, you can see if you select your layer, you have options to choose from. The fill is what is inside here. Okay, this is a fill, and the stroke is the outside lining of our shape. So if I click on the word fill here, you have the options. You can choose a radial gradient, you can choose a linear gradient, you can choose a solid color like this one, but also you can activate or deactivate the fill. So if I deactivate the fill, you can see if I press OK, right now there is no fill, but also we have a very thin lining on our shape. Right now this can be customized on the stroke. Now on the stroke you get the similar settings, except here you have the opacity. Okay, but you can activate and deactivate the stroke. You can make it solid color, which is what is currently available, linear or radial gradient. Okay, but also the extra option you get on the stroke is actually you can increase the size of the stroke. So you can make it thick or you can make it thin. Thick and thin. Thick and thin.
Stop it. Get some help.
When you open up the drop down arrow, you do still have the transform options, and of course you can make this 3D as before. Okay, but what we are focused about here is not the transform option, because you know about them, you saw on the previous episodes. What I want you to focus about is the content here. You can see if you open the polystar, which is this shape, right? If you open the path, you can change the type. You can make it a star or a polygon. So if you make it a star, you can see it changes into a star. If you make it a polygon, you can change it to a polygon. But also you can change the sides here. For now it has 5 points. Let me say we add and make it 6. You can see now we have 6 points here. 1 2 3 4 5 6, any number you want. And that's the beauty of working with shape layers rather than masks, because you have more options to customize. And remember, right now we are using the stroke. We have deactivated the fill, but if you deactivate the stroke, let me select it right here, deactivate the stroke and activate the fill, you can see here you get the same shape, and you can actually change here the color, make it white. I'm going to bring the stroke back. Right here you can change its position, You can change its rotation. You can see when I'm changing its rotation, the borders stay the same. They are not changing as if I'm transforming you see these blue points here, these are the borders of the shape. If we change the rotation here, you can see the rotation changes with these borders. But if I change the rotation of the polyester here, only the shape changes. If you come to stroke here, you can actually change the color of the stroke, the opacity, the stroke width, okay? But also you can change what kind of caps that you want. Now when we say caps, you see right now this has joined. Let me just create a new shape here. Let me take, for example, the pen tool, right? Now I'm going to put a point here, then click shift and put another point right here, okay? And you can see it came with the settings of our previous shape here. If I scale this stroke, right, you can see now it's kind of a rectangular shaped. But if I come and open up my content here and come to stroke and come here to linear cap, okay, right now it's on butt cap. If I change it to round cap, you can see now we have round edges. You can actually customize this in many different ways. Those are options that you won't get in a shape mask. Here you can change the fill options, the color, the opacity, which is pretty much the same if you change it right here. And on the transform here of shape 1, you see you get extra transform options here. So you can transform it from here, but also you can transform it from down here on the transform. And that's about it on this episode. Your task is now to come into After Effects, create a new composition, create a solid, and start masking out shapes in After Effects. But also, after you finish masking out shapes, I want you to get rid of the solids and start creating shape layers and customize them according to the settings that I've shown you. We are going to move on to episode 5, where we're going to be talking about keyframing and animation, and that's where things are getting interesting, interester, and interestiest.